Hello, everyone. Father Dr. Stell here, and today I would like to share with you a story of a young man who had lost a loved one in a tragic fire. Mourning over the death of his younger brother, the 20-year-old college sophomore entered church one Sunday, hoping to find solace for his loss, perhaps even an answer to the several existential questions that preoccupied his mind. As he sat in his pew alone, the combination of the prayerful atmosphere and the solemn chanting during the divine liturgy seemed to soothe his soul and provide him with the necessary comfort he so desperately needed. All at once, though, an argument erupted in the narthex of the church, a disagreement over stewardship dues. As heads turned, the young man was drawn away from his spiritual comfort zone. He began to look around him, noticing several eyes scrutinizing him. Were they scolding him for never attending church during the past 2 years that he was away at university? Or was it the way he was dressed, wearing khaki slacks and a simple dress shirt without a tie? Suddenly, an older woman confronted him loudly, telling him he had no business being in her pew. The celebrant priest, aggravated by all the commotion, stared accusingly at the young man, and he made his displeasure openly known. The young man silently moved out of the pew and up out of the church, never to be seen again. The story is a sad one that reflects the shortcomings not of religion, but of individuals in a particular faith community who misunderstand altogether what religion is all about. A brief etymological inquiry into the term religion reveals that it derives from the Latin religio, which means respect for what is sacred and reverence for the gods. More specifically, it refers to the sacred bond or connection, ligare, uniting mortals with the gods. Hence, religion becomes the context, the meeting place in which God and man meet and reconnect, religare, with one another. Implied in all this, of course, is the central importance of relationship and dialogue between man and God. In our story, the religious context is the liturgical worship of the church. In all belief systems, worship as either the private or public expression of faith typically is the par excellence religious context. However, what we discover in our story are several violations that betray the very nature of religiosity. First, lost is a sense of reverence for the presence of the Lord. The raucous behavior of the quarrelers in the narthex, the curious gazers, the possessive older woman, and even the priest, intent on singling out the stranger, all blatantly disregard the fact that their critical stance toward the young man is at once seen and judged by God. In other words, they are completely oblivious to God and act as if God himself is entirely absent from church. Rather than acknowledging the presence of God in this hurting young man, they look unfavorably upon him, forgetting Christ's words in the parable of the judgment. And the king shall say to them, "Assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me." Second, following this disregard for the vertical relationship between man and God, severed by the critics of the young man, they likewise suspend and devalue the horizontal relationship inherent between themselves and their hurting brother. The very nature of religion demands that our individual and collective sacrifices of material goods be offered with a clean conscience, without which they become an abomination to God, as the prophet Isaiah foretells. Bring no more futile sacrifices. Incense is an abomination to me. The new moons, the Sabbaths, and the calling of assemblies. I cannot endure iniquity and the sacred meeting. Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hates. They are a trouble to me. I am weary of bearing them. When you spread out your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash yourselves. Make yourselves clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do good. Seek justice. Rebuke the oppressor. Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Even our Lord cautions us. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First, go and be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. In the same spirit, listen to St. John Chrysostom's words in his homily on Matthew. Oh, the magnitude of his love for mankind! Christ regards the honor offered to himself as inferior to love for our brother. Let your worship of me be interrupted, Christ says, in order that the love between you and your brother may be preserved. By these words, the Lord wants to show us that he values love dearly and considers it a sacrifice higher than any other. Without this sacrifice, he accepts no others. Thus, the Lord teaches us that the Holy Table does not accept those who harbor enmity among themselves. A final violation of religion may be understood as a betrayal against our very selves. The critics of the young man in church, in all likelihood, must have felt a sense of self-justification for chastising him. They may even have felt they were doing a favor to the rest of the community for uprooting this persona non grata. At best, and only as a remote afterthought, some may even have felt a slight remorse for their words or actions, even though the damage had been done and was clearly irreversible. And all this, for what purpose? When they woke up in the morning to attend the Holy Liturgy, was this their initial intent? To crusade against an infidel, a stranger whom they did not know or wished to get to know? Or was their original intent to worship God, but somehow, maybe conveniently, this temptation rescued them from the holy work of genuine prayer? For the critics of the young man, either voluntarily or involuntarily, they betrayed their divine calling to connect with God and their fellow man in a lucrative and sensible way. All these violations then lead us to ask the inevitable question: what do people really want from religion? My experience as both a priest of 31 years and as a university professor have taught me that all people, regardless of religious background or affiliation, have an innate need for acceptance, happiness, and love. Our Orthodox Christian faith offers all these benefits to her people in their purest form because the very offerer of these gifts is the embodiment of all these three. The Lord is perfect acceptance, perfect joy, and perfect love. Channeling these three needs, however, through the community of faith often runs into snags because of the imperfections and limitations of people. Unfortunately, distractions abound, and people thirsty for connecting with God often may pay dearly by sometimes sacrifice their ultimate focus for the sideline diversions. Prior to the disruptions, the man felt the grace of God touching and healing his broken soul. The liturgical context, in and of itself, proved its efficacy. Hence, the religion is not to blame, the seemingly religious are. The late great Indian pacifist and statesman Mahatma Gandhi was credited with the famous saying, "I like your Christ, but I do not like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ." As disquieting as this statement is, it is nevertheless the genuine opinion of an outsider peering into a religion, in truth, any religion, exalting its merits, but critical of some of its adherents for failing in their religious obligations, which are to respect and love God, as well as those created in God's own image and likeness. Religious fanaticism, existing in many forms and always rooted in human egotism, is typically legitimized by equating it to God's will. Fanaticism digresses considerably from the ideals of any religion dictated by God himself. Hence, does religion address only the outward expressions of faith, such as liturgy, prayer, the sacraments, etc., as is the traditional view? Or is there more to it? Social scientist Alan Wolf's revolutionary work, The Transformation of American Religion, makes it abundantly clear that America's recourse to an individualistic, personalized religious expression makes a radical objection to formalized worship, but sadly distorts God by customizing him in accordance with personal preferences. For us Orthodox Christians, God is not who we say he is. God simply is who he is. The liturgy of the Church must be as beautiful as the liturgy of the heart. The grace felt by the young man in worship must be purely channeled by each spirit-bearing Christian to completely heal and make whole every hurting heart. Within God's greater plan for the world, so much is riding on our own ability and desire, not only to attend the liturgy, but to understand it, to embrace it, to live it daily. In closing, friends, in a modification of the words spoken by the late great President John F. Kennedy, let us not ask what our religion can do for us. Let us ask what we can do for our religion to make it alive, relevant, and inviting for every human heart seeking meaning and salvation. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel at FRDRSSM 2024. God bless and have a beautiful day.